Past players, past legends, past legends.
And we welcome Greg Anderson aboard. Greg, 138 games for Port Adelaide in 2 stints, 103 for Essendon, 59 for Adelaide. So cracking the magical 300-game barrier, 12 state games, 2-time SANFL Premiership player, 95-96, of course the Magarey Medal in 86, twice All-Australian in 87 and 93, Foss Williams Medal in 93, South Australian Football Hall of Fame inducted in 2019, Australian Sports Medal 2000, coach South Adelaide. He's been around the traps in the coaching world as well. Welcome aboard, Ando.
Welcome, yeah, thank you.
Thanks for joining us. And we were just chatting earlier, and we were talking about your games at Port Adelaide, how the Wikipedia hadn't updated the extra games.
Yeah.
So Malcolm has quickly adjusted that one there, and we did have a slight technical issue, but thanks for bearing with us, and thanks for joining us, mate. We'd like to start with you, if we've got time after all of those stats that Malcolm has read out there. We'd like to start with your juniors. You know, was footy always your number one sport?
Yeah, most definitely. I had 2 older brothers that were just really passionate about footy, and my dad, we played a couple of games for Rosewater in the Div 1, and he was part of the 1957 Premiership A1 Premiership team with them. So I think footy was a big part of our family, and we were, growing up at Cheltenham, we were really, full-on Port Adelaide supporters, like probably on the crazy side of it.
Now, Ando, though, you did play in a Woodville mini-league premiership side with Timmy G.
You did mention that, I think.
Yeah, so should you have been a Woodville player, though, technically?
No, we got selected in mini-league through your school. So
okay.
At that stage, I was at St Michael's Beverley, which was in the Woodville area. So, we got to play mini-league for Woodville, which was great. But I also played when I was at Mount Carmel at Rosewater. I was in grade 3, and just to fill the numbers, they needed a couple of the young ones, and I got asked to play in a mini-league game against Central Districts at Alberton Oval, which was absolutely fantastic. And I still remember, lining up with the players running out after half time and seeing Russ Leavitt and Greg Phillips and Peter Woyd and Carl Fragamini and Kimmy Kinnear. It was just a huge thrill for me.
Geez, playing mini-league in grade 3, you've almost qualified as a life member of bloody mini-league by the end of grade 7, Ando.
Oh, no, I thought Mr. King, his name was. I didn't even know why I thought of his name then, but he came up and said, "Look, we just need some more numbers." And I asked my mum and dad, and they said, "Yep, you can play." And out I go, and I kicked a couple of goals too. So that was something pretty special.
So your junior career, so primary school, and then of course St Michael's, leading to the bit of your league debut for Port Adelaide when you were still at school. Then, Ando, go through that experience, mate. And I admit I have got a bit of information from your brother-in-law, from Danny, on that one. So go for it, mate.
Well, it was just interesting. I mean, I got invited to a pre-season and at the end of '82 for the '83 season, and it was a really tough pre-season. I always remember that, and I played a practice match, and lucky enough, I got a few kicks and I kicked a few goals, and they thought, so I played another practice match, and I came on after half time and played okay again, which was great. And then the following week, I played the next 2 weeks of the start of the season in the reserves, and round 3, I got my first league game against Sturt at Footy Park, and it's quite interesting crowds back in those days because there's about 21,000 people there. So
yeah.
It was a big game and a big win. We were down by 3 or 4 at half time, and we ended up winning by 3 or 4. So
now go through the experience of going back to Alberton and what happened back at Alberton, and your thoughts after that, Ando. That at 16 you thought, bloody hell, this could be a good fun each
good
week.
Gig. Yep.
Go through that experience, mate.
It was obviously absolutely fantastic to win the game and to sing the club song and have all these kids running at the oval and asking for your autograph, and it was a really big thrill. And then I remember my dad dropped me off at the Albion Oval, and the president of the club at the time he was going to drive me home because I don't think I had my licence. So first of all, I couldn't get in. The bounce, because I didn't have a badge or anything to say I was a member. I wasn't expecting to play sort of league footy at the start of the year. And so actually Brian Cunningham, he actually sort of helped me convince the bouncer that this young kid actually played league football.
Yep.
So in I go, and the place was packed. Because I'd never really been before, because I played juniors at Port, but I never went back to after a league game. And either the two reserve games, I didn't go back to the club because I had homework. I was still in my year 12. So I remember sort of going back. I just couldn't believe the people. And I'll never forget sitting next to Craig Bradley, and he goes, "Oh, we have donations here." I said, "No, what do you mean?" He goes, as people come up the top of the stairs, there's that sort of guy over there at the desk, and he's taking little donations from people saying, a couple of bucks here and a couple of bucks there, and then they are doing awards after the winning game. I said, "That's good." He goes, "But you might be all right, so you're probably going to get $40 or $50. And I thought, "You're kidding me, $40 or $50? Yeah, this is huge, And so they started calling up players in threes. So I was sort of hadn't been called at that stage, and Craig said, "Look, it's good that you're not called up yet. You want to be the last couple, because that's sort of where the big bucks are, And then so right at the last, so basically I knew obviously I'm in the last three, and they said third best player Craig Bradley, and second best player myself, and best player was Bomber Clifford. So up the three of us go. And so I think Craig ended up with $40 or something, which was big money. So anyway, they started calling mine out, and they had calling out the families, the surnames of the families, and they donated this and they donated that. The boys at the bar donated that. The boys on the hill donated that, and all that sort of stuff. And they sort of said second best player goes to myself, and it was about $1,100.
Yeah.
So I was pretty popular at school the next day. When I got to school, I took a couple of redbacks with me and shared a few Kitchener buns and honey sticks and salad sandwiches, and it was quite amazing how you get up in the morning, all of a sudden you're on the front page of the paper, kicking the footy, and Port beating Sturt, big crowd, and they used my photo of me kicking the ball, and I'm on the front page of the Advertiser. It was I had to pinch myself, so, and to play for my dream, Port Adelaide, and play, alongside of Russell Ebert, Timmy Clear and Timmy Evans, and, Craig Bradley, Tony Giles, Andy Portleisha, Brian Cunningham, I was in heaven. Yeah.
Now, mate, we do a little bit of research, and we came up with the athletics. Was there a little bit of athletics through your schooling there that might have piqued your interest?
I was really big into athletics. I absolutely loved it. It was probably one of those decisions that I sort of had to make. Really, I mean, I was very passionate with the hurdles, and really enjoyed playing football. And it was interesting because I had a national carnival in Melbourne, and I was running under 18s. I was only 16, but I'd sort of done all my events, which is a Thursday and the Friday. So I was going to stay over, and that's when Port actually rang me and said, "Look, we'd like you to come back and play in a practice match." And so it was a big difference, being on the starting line by yourself and, running your race and all that. So all of a sudden, the siren going, after playing a half a footy in the league side, and all these kids are wanting your autograph. I'm going, "Oh, this is unreal," So, it was, I think, my first love was always football, but I certainly really enjoyed doing athletics, and it was good fun, big part of my life.
I think you were always considered, though, to be a bit of a chance. I know that Phil Carmen's the one which athletics consider sort of got away, that there's always been the opinion around the traps that he wouldn't have only been an Olympian, that he would have medalled as a decathlon event. So,
wow.
Yeah. God, he held school records at Pembroke for over 30 years.
Wow.
He was incredible.
He had a great height, he had great strength, and I can actually, sort of picture him being a multi-eventer. So, I can see that, and he had plenty of aggression, and you need that over two really tough days of competition. So, I sort of probably would agree with that. Yeah.
So then go through, Ando, with the controversy, and it's a big call that because back then college football was sort of the mecca, and that you had to play college footy, so you left St Michael's and went to Woodville High to continue playing league footy. So go through that as a decision in year 12. So it's a big call as well, Ando.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big call. I mean, I've been at St Michael's since grade 4. That was when the school actually started in those days, and got through my year 12, and then I'd already played first 18 and third year and fourth year, and we had a tremendous year in fourth year. I think we only lost one game, and that was the last game of the year to PAC by a couple of points, and so the following year, I'm doing that pre-season with Port, and I thought, geez, I'm a chance to play some league footy. All of a sudden, I'm playing league footy, and the headmaster called me in and said, look, if you don't play school football, you're going to have to make a choice, which I found was really
bizarre,
really difficult, because I certainly wanted to graduate at St Michael's College. I had all my most 80% of my class I'd been at school with since grade 4, and so it was a really big call. But I just felt that I don't think I could have played another year of first 18. That would have been my third year, and everything's about development, and that's why I always felt the school got that wrong. I really believe that, because of the fact that you get promoted as your classes as the years go on, and I can't stay at the same level for 3 years when I was playing well enough to certainly think, well, I've pretty much ready to step out of first 18. And play at the next level. And certainly when I was playing reserve football, I thought, well, that's okay, I'll play first 18. But once I started being a regular player with the A grade side, I thought, no, this is the level I've dreamt of. This is my dream of. Unfortunately, I was never going to be a doctor or a surgeon, and I'm sure there's some students who were dreaming that. But for me, they certainly, for some reason, put sport in front of, schooling, and on this instance, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Interesting that that still happens and still does happen to a certain degree in some respects,
I think it's a little bit better now.
Not as much as it was. Yeah, that's for sure. Mate, obviously 1983 you cemented yourself in the Port Adelaide side. 84 what type of year did you have?
And take your time talking about the grand final too, Ando.
Well, I was leading.
You can talk for a couple of hours about the grand final.
I was leading into that slowly.
Yeah. I think, 84, I obviously, I really felt that I sort of warranted my position, and that I worked hard again pre-season, that I wanted to play on the wing, and I felt like I sort of scratched my name in the coach's board, that that was a position I really was hoping I could play week in, week out. And, I was lucky enough to play my first state game that year as well, as I think it was on my 18th birthday. So it was a really, as much as my first year was just so tremendous, and it was a really big thrill, and, and I was learning, to really try to just, hold on to the position. I felt sometimes, I felt 84, I just felt a bit more comfortable playing at that level. And it was just wonderful to be able to, to represent South Australia against Victoria in a State of Origin game, and then of course to run out on a grand final was fantastic, and all the build up was fantastic, and we played Nord, who are the arch rivals, so it couldn't be a better clash. So Nord were just a bit too good, a few points too good on the day. So
I think you stand Duncan Fosdyke mainly that day. I'm trying to think, was Fozzie or Gags?
I stood Duzzy for a little while, then Jenkins came.
Yeah, that's right. Danny came on for a while. Yeah.
Then I think then Duncan
went back to that wing. Yeah.
No, he went in the forward line.
He kicked the goal in the last quarter. We went forward. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, he sort of went from from the ground there for a while. Then he went into the forward line. Terrific bloke, Duncan. I actually worked with him, and just a great guy, and he was a very, very good player, that's for sure.
Very good overhead, Fozzie.
Well, he's probably taller than people. He runs very low, but when he's he's got long arms and he probably takes a mark like a 6'4" really. So yeah, he was a really good player.
Now we have to ask. We have had a couple of Nord guests on the show, and we've asked them about the '84 grand final. Where were you, and what were you thinking when Barham and Evans were going at it in the goal square?
Well, if you look at the stats, it says who got the first kick of the game.
Yes, yeah, that's true. Smothered, yep, that's true.
I was on the wing. I was running in by myself, so I could have taken the tap. I could have taken the kick. I could have then marked it again. I didn't go. Yeah, I was sort of hovering around that half forward. But yeah, I mean, it was really quite full on, of course, and a few of the big boys got in it, but yeah, I think some of the smaller guys, a bit younger guys, we sort of just hung to the side a little bit, I think.
It's pretty incredible then at 18. So you've played a state game and played in one of the great grand finals and that. So then you just kept building. So 86 is obviously the year to discuss. Marty Leslie, previous guest on the show, did say we had to remind Ando that he won the best and fairest in 86. He said, when you get Ando on, just remind him of that.
Yeah, Marty's a great player. He's a good player. And for a number of times, he would, support me on the ground, and, it was just marvellous. I would say the whole 5 years I played with Marty, he could also have been the best team man the whole 5 years as well. So, not was he a great player, but he was just such a great, person, teammate, friend to have alongside of you. And bloody big shoulders too, by the way.
Oh, very good player. Of course, you were originally drafted by South Melbourne too, Ando. But
yeah, that was back in, I got drafted, I reckon, in fourth year at school. So
yeah, which is crazy.
I got drafted, which was really quite bizarre. So, so I was, it was just one of those circumstances where I looked at the paper and all of a sudden my name's on this draft and I'm getting phone calls from the press going, do you know you got drafted? And I really didn't expect it and didn't know much about it. My dad knew a little about it, but I don't think they were ever serious about actually drafting me. But yeah, somehow they must have had a spare pick right at the end and thought, well, we might as well give it to this young lad.
We probably glossed over that a little bit too quickly. Describe the experience of McGarry Medal Night in 86,
Ando. That's what I was just about to say too.
Yeah, it was because I was favourite, and I always remember Mark getting interviewed by Mark Aston, and he said, and he asked me about the previous winners and things like that, and I said, you know what, the one thing is that Craig Bradley was favourite in 84 and John Patton won it. Fantastic. That's great. Peter Motley was favourite in 85 and Brantley Filkey won it. And I thought maybe third time lucky for the favourite.
Yeah, that's fair.
So anyway, that was anyway, it's one of those things. You just never know. I mean, it's a team sport. You're not running down a track jumping hurdles and you got full control, and you're one of 40 players in the way of from the time you do pre-season together to play to get out in the field. But yeah, I always remember they said they got 20 or 30 more votes to go. And anyway, I was trying to count them, and I think Darren Smith said something to me and someone else said something to me, and I think, I reckon I've only counted 10. And then Big Bob McLean put his hand over and said, congratulations, you're a McGarry Medal winner. And I was going to say to Bob, no, they've still got 10 to go. But then Max Bashir said, congratulations to myself. I thought, oh, wow. No, I've got it wrong, not Bob. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was really, a great honour. And it was, I suppose you feel like you're really representing your club, like really you're wearing that blazer, and going up there to get the medal. And it's for you're a Port Adelaide McGarry medalist, and that was something that I just thought was just absolutely wonderful.
And also just probably there, with Wally Miller, the two doyen administrators of South Australian football too, and to have the great late Bob McLean tell you that straight first up, it's probably something you think of probably more as you've gotten older, that almost a privilege to have had those words uttered to you by Big Bob.
Yeah, look, yeah. You get in when you're young, you're in your own little fast lane, and when I actually first told that story, and there was a couple of early statesmen, and I said, well, Bob McLean, reached over from the table and stood up and shook my hand and said, and it was their reaction that really got to me, and then I realised that was Bob McLean. That is the Bob McLean that congratulated me. So you do, I suppose, as you get out of that fast lane and you think some of the great moments in my sports, that was one of them. Yeah, to be thanked by him, who was Mr. Port Adelaide.
Yes.
And then obviously Essendon came into the picture. How did that all eventuate?
Yeah, I got a call from Kevin Egan, his name was, and he was a recruiting manager. And at that stage, I'd played a couple of state games, and I'd met Kevin Sheedy, and they just sort of said, look, we'd love to talk to you about coming to Essendon. And I thought, that was great. And I always remember Russell Ebert saying, if you're going to go to interstate, Greg, I reckon Essendon's the team because it's very similar to Port Adelaide in the culture.
That's interesting.
And so his great words, from another unbelievable Port Adelaide icon, probably number 2 or number 1, and Bob's number 2, whatever the case may be. Sort of steered me towards Essendon. So, just loved it there, and real family, and he was so right. It's the cultures are very, very similar.
Of course, playing under Kevin Sheedy, we'll get to the coach. Kevin Sheedy, John Carr. You've played under some absolute footy legends in that regard as well. Russell to start with. In that way. But Sheedy, sort of like Mr. Footy over there, Mr. Headline almost. That experience.
Well, he is. It's his period at the helm, which was 20-something years, but. There were periods there that he was Mr. Football. I mean, I know Ted Whitten was around, and you got Barassi, and these other massive names. But when Kevin Sheedy talked, you listened. And that was a football world. So you couldn't be any more prouder, representing Essendon Footy Club, but also Kevin Sheedy, and he was wonderful, and he was tough. He was a very tough coach, mentally and physically, and you had to have 110% commitment for that Guernsey, and that's how you played. And if you didn't, he would show you on Monday night in front of everyone, this is what you're not going to do, not at our club. So
pretty ruthless.
He sorted me out a couple of times, and we thought I could have probably gone a bit harder or chased a bit harder. And certainly highlighted that that's just not what we do at this club. So, so he was, and I really think he got no question. I think I've become a tougher, harder player at Essendon than I thought I would have been. And you don't know until you don't know what level you're at. You think everything's pretty good, but I thought, geez, there was a couple of times I knew that he's watching me, and I've got to go extra hard on this one. And so he was fantastic.
Amazing that Sheedy almost in the Kale mould of sort of making his players play above themselves and really instill that confidence in them. And if they needed to be told, they were told, and there was never an issue afterwards.
Very true. I mean, John Carr his words are just, it's like a song. He just gives you so much confidence, and Kevin Sheedy he is there for you. You just have he has this presence that, he's going to back you 110%. So a couple of, and you can see why both of those are just so incredibly successful at, not just playing sport but also guiding young men to get the best out of their ability.
And then, of course, you playing in the 1990 AFL Grand Final, where that brawl at quarter time made the Tim Evans, Craig Barn bit look like a Christmas picnic. That was full on. There were some decent punches thrown in that one, Endo.
Yeah, that was a different legal level as well. That one, that was nasty. That went on way too long than it should have, and spread out to all different parts of trainers, to coaches, to players on the bench, to officials. It was a really, and it wasn't great for football, I don't think. And
it was quite bizarre because Essendon effectively lost the plot. And there was no doubt whatsoever that Lee Matthews got Collingwood to settle and get on with the game more than what Essendon.
Yeah.
It was quite crazy, really.
Yeah, I think we got 2 50-metre penalties like within the next 5 minutes of play after quarter time. So, they obviously settled and we hadn't. And, before we knew it, they just kicked 2 goals and we're really up against it. And it was just one of those games. Yeah, and quite often Essendon say it was very similar to 85 where, Hawthorn probably, with the another, which is, all-in brawl, in 85, they didn't settle and Essendon did, and they kicked away. So it's pretty unsettling. It wasn't a melee. That was a really
I was at that grand final. That was full on. Yeah.
So that was so it wasn't something that you sort of just push the player off and say let's just we just throw them back to positions. It just kept going and kept going and kept going and it's something that I've never been sort of, and I hope it's great that it's never going to be part of our game again. But it was a pretty nasty incident. Yeah.
Now we'll just go back a step a little bit. You made your VFL debut against North Melbourne at Windy Hill, and we have had quite a few of our guests who have come from the SNFL to the VFL. Still playing at some of the suburban grounds. Were there any grounds that you liked being at, and conversely not liked being at?
I really enjoyed playing Princess Park. And I think in those days was Carlton and Hawthorn had that particular game. Should I say? I used to really like Whitten Oval. I think they actually made it for a wingman because maybe Doug Hawkins perhaps might have got the shape of the oval to suit a wingman. So that was always a really nice ground to play. And I love Moorabbin. I thought Moorabbin was a great game, great oval, great size. But they could never get the plumbing right because there was certainly never any hot water. That was coming through those shower heads.
They always worked on a Friday night though. They always worked on a Friday night watering the ground though at Moorabbin.
They used to do that as well. So a couple of great grounds, and I remember my first game at Windy Hill, and to play and in front of a packed audience at Windy Hill, and I just was just wonderful. You hear about the history of it when you get to Essendon Footy Club and to actually run on that ground. It sort of really brings it all together, brings the story together, and I think players miss that nowadays. No question. When you've got all these ex-players, champions, of the club that have they've made their statement on that oval. And
I agree with you there.
Of course they go to MCG, or they might they go to not
Docklands, Etihad, whatever you want to call it. 8 million different names.
So you sort of that the suburban ground. That's what the culture and the club is all about. You're fighting for your community, and so I felt really, really pleased that I had a couple of years where I was only 2 years before we went to the MCG, but we were able to play plenty of games at Windy Hill.
And then making the decision to come back to Adelaide, that would have been a pretty hard decision to leave Essendon, Greg.
Yeah, it was really hard, but I had 2 children at that stage, and it's really hard without your parents as well and family.
Yep.
And I think that was probably that was. And look, I love state footy. I absolutely loved it. It was just a huge part of my life growing up. I used to watch the South Australia, Victoria, and those games as young kids. My dad used to take me, and I just thought, oh my God, to be able to represent your state. And I just sort of felt well, I've got my family back here. I've got I've got 2 children at that stage, and to sort of go back and sort of represent your club your state week in, week out would be pretty special. And it was. And
of course, 93. Where you had a very good year individually, All-Australian in 93. Does that mean more than the 87 one in terms of because it's over a whole season, not just a carnival sort of thing? And do you think look upon those 2 differently at all, or those two achievements differently, or not?
Oh, yeah,
or am I reading
probably,
too much into it?
No, probably no. I mean, it's one of those. I mean, you got to perform, and that's the key. And you've got to perform in a carnival, and and I suppose that was how they picked it in those days. And yeah, it was a huge thrill when I got named All Australian. I was disappointed in 1990. I think I got first emergency there, and I was that was probably my best season. And then to actually then get the AFL one in '93, it was it was wonderful. Yeah.
No, we've got to bring back in '93. We've
Yep.
got to bring it up. That bloody the game. Yes, I was there. I still think the first half of that prelim final was the best footy Adelaide ever played. Did you get injured in that game, Greg?
I did.
Yes.
Yeah, I got injured at just about halfway during the third quarter. Yeah, halfway during the third quarter. Wayne Wiedemann cleaned me up, actually. A bit of friendly fire, and he got I sort of end up sort of a bit of a dislocation of the hip. So I was cooked. So I was on crutches for about a couple of weeks after that. He's a big boy, Weege, running.
Yes. Yeah.
Not going 100 miles an hour. So I was just hoping that we could sort of hang on. But they did. I mean, I think once the crowd got behind Essendon when they started that run on, and I think we missed a couple of really easy shots.
Yeah, Jars missed a sitter in the third quarter. Yes.
And then they ended up doing sort of those two lots of 2 goals turnarounds in that.
Yeah.
And that gave them a sniff, and that got 80-odd thousand people were sniff and got behind their team, and we just sort of lost that little bit of run, and they got it. So that's football.
And then Michael Long, of course, delivered again. He delivered those 2 games. Yeah. He was just incredible against us after half time, and then his grand final was fantastic. Yeah,
his grand final was unbelievable. After half time, I put him into the centre, and he was. I remember at the start of the third quarter, I was sprinting as fast as I could, and they'd already got it out. They got bounces went their way.
Yeah.
The umpire bounces went their way.
Yes.
Just everything just sort of fell into place, and and then we got a few little injuries and a few niggles, and we had to make some changes, and then we just they just got that run on, and wow, when you got that 90,000 people supporting you, and 90,000 people supporting against you.
and a couple of people blowing the whistle that day. I've only ever watched that game again once, just watched it to think, I want to watch this again. Was the umpiring as bad as I thought it was live? And yes, it was. Once you remove the emotion, I've just watched a couple of decisions as an umpire and just thinking, that is unbelievable. And that's coming from an umpiring perspective, not
that's right.
Somebody didn't know the rules, and yeah. So I've always had that game, and in the 2012 prelim of the 2, I still call it very much the VFL competition. So yes.
I think we still call it that at times, don't we?
Yes. So there, Greg, then back to Port and playing in a couple of premiership sides, which must have been huge. You as your family, were you the Anderson one who'd gone on to play league footy, where and being a huge Port family, Danny did say, make sure you make that point. That would have been huge then to play in a couple of Port flags.
It was fantastic. Look, I'll never forget going back to the club, and I remember the line-up to get into Albion Oval was just ridiculous. And thinking that, if that's the case, I must have only opened up the gates, because there's so many. There probably would have been 6,000 or 7,000 people outside the club. So I'm thinking they must have not opened the clubhouses yet. And then to go in there and go to the club and look down on the Oval and see it absolutely packed was just something very, very special. And then them singing the club song time and time again, and having beers and having a laugh with all your teammates. And you're right, it was just like, I got one. Beautiful.
And I take it you didn't have any trouble getting in on this occasion, Ando?
No bouncer.
bounce and let you in.
I had Timmy Jennifer next to me. He would have made sure I got in.
Yes.
That was fantastic. So, lucky to get a couple of premierships there. So it was that was wonderful.
And then the body started just to fall away a bit, just with niggles.
Yeah, it did. I tore my calf away from my Achilles, sort of not the Achilles, but just at the junction there, and I got so badly swollen I had to go to hospital, and the doctor sort of said, Greg, you're probably not going any faster, might be time, and I just knew that this was going to be a long way to get back, and it was a pretty horrific injury. I just sort of I can't put my body through it anymore. And look, as much as you think, I'd love to play another year of league footy, I wouldn't have played league footy. I know I was lucky to run out of sight on a dark night. And my speed was important. That was a big part of my game. So, you can always, people, you could have kept on playing, but no, I couldn't have, because one, I couldn't have run, and secondly, I wouldn't have made the grade. Yeah, when your body falls away like it, unfortunately, like your pistons, your legs, you're in a uphill battle there.
I know you're sort of saying that the body was breaking down a little bit, but would you have loved to have been part of the Port Adelaide AFL inaugural squad if everything and the timing was right and the body was good?
Oh, no question. Yeah, look, I remember. I think 85, 86. First of all, they're talking about 18, which eventually happened sort of 6 years later with the Crows. And then, hearing that, it's not too far away from Port Adelaide having a team, it would have been wonderful. Look, I literally lived 6 houses away from Albion Oval. I grew up there, 6 houses away. My father played for Port, played, in a reserve grand final. He played lots of Rosewater. My grandfather played Colts at Port Adelaide. His brother played down at Colts at Port Adelaide. So we're a real Port people. So to be, if I was, like 22, 23 and going out to the Power, that would have been wonderful. But it's just, it's, everything, it moves in different ways. But to say that I actually played with the Essendon Footy Club and I played under Kevin Sheedy and I felt that I was a better player because of him, it's something I really think is pretty great to talk about as well.
Fair call.
Now, you ended up coaching South Adelaide. Now, there's a bit of irony in this one, because it came down to out of Greg Anderson and John Griffin for the job. And ironically, Griff had coached at Adelaide Uni and that. And
that's right.
And Griff had said, right, if I get the job, and he actually in his PowerPoint, he's a school teacher, had used me in his presentation, I was actually going to have to go to work for South Adelaide if he got the job. So there's a bit of irony in that, Ando.
Yeah, well, we worked very, very closely together. The one great thing about John Griffin and obviously great football brain, number one, but his foresight, his ability then to organise training groups down at Mount Compass, down at Encounter Bay, to really work the New South Zone, because obviously it was new when they went down to Noarlunga. They got different zones and lost some to Westies, etc., etc. So yes, he was great as assistant coach, but he was doing so much work for junior development. He was absolutely brilliant and a great friend, and we had a great time together. Probably would love a few more wins, but it was hard going because we only just moved to Noarlunga and everything was sort of new, and we lost some areas and some zones, and we probably would like to have a bit better win-loss ratio.
I've always said that Griff's the best coach that I've been closely involved with. So, and then, Ando, you've been around the traps and the coaching. Like, if we interviewed you on your coaching career in general, we'd be going for another couple of hours. It'd be part three,
part four, part five.
Go through all of that. You've been Gazer, Cove. That's a couple off the top of the head. Go through all of that. And favourite experiences, just on a community level. We'll probably go that angle, Ando.
Well, look, everything's relevant, and my time when I went to Gazer, I loved it. We were very tough and strong club, and I certainly enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the Cove. I just had some great friends there that I sort of knew through South Adelaide. Great support. Incredible competition. I still think the year we won the flag, we probably would have had 13 or 14 players that have played league footy before, and I think Morphevale did as well. I think Brighton did as well. I think Ranella did. So the strength of the those probably the top 8 sides were, it was outstanding football, and that was a really great period of coaching for myself, and then I went to Jeps Cross, which it was a tough club. We really, I think they'd won one game the year before, and we ended up making finals my first year there. It was sort of hard work, but yeah, I think I really enjoyed my time at Sunny Nations. I thought it was fantastic, and I was sort of it's probably different sort of culture there again than what I was sort of head coach before, and really warm to it, and just some tremendous people that I still spend a lot of time with today. And that was it's a great period of my life. Coaching was fantastic. It's you walk down in the city, and you look at like 14, 15 years of coaching by 20, 30 players. There's a lot of players that I coach.
Yes. It's a lot of people you run in around the traps. Yeah.
So, and you don't think of that until you finish coaching. You walk down the port and someone goes, "G'day, Greg, how you going?" I said, "Oh, g'day, mate." And he goes, "Oh, remember I used to coach at Jeps Cross." "Oh, that's right. That's Mark. That's the one." So that happens a lot.
Yes.
And so it's so it was just a wonderful time, and I really enjoyed it. And but you still, it's still hard not to say my most favourite moment in coaching was when it was the first time that Hallett Cove won the A1 flag. That was really special.
Of course, married to Helen, and being part of the Hanson clan is more than entertaining. I will say, Danny's one of her best mates, your brother-in-law, and it's always great fun to spend time with the Hansons, and you always walk away pissing yourself laughing. It's never too intense, and it's great.
It's one of those tough pre-season nights. That's how I put it down to. When you're going there, you've got to be prepared. You've got to.
Yeah, it could be anything. Yeah, that's a fair call for the Hansons.
You feel like you've just done 10 400s and 10 300s, and you just got a shirt front by Rossi Ages and cleaned up later by Martin Leslie. So
it's a big fly on the wall.
Very lucky to call those guys, family and brothers-in-laws and sisters-in-laws and all that sort of stuff. So very lucky.
Very much irrelevant who you were in footy. Don't worry, you will get the Mickey taken out of you within 0.001 of a second in terms of a Hanson event. So,
very true.
Yes.
Yeah.
And work-wise nowadays, mate?
Work-wise nowadays, we've got a flooring business, so it's called Flooring Trade Depot, and we're a supplier to flooring contractors and not only just accessories, but also whether it be carpet tiles that we put in front of architects and designers and builders, or carpet or floating floors and all that sort of stuff. So we're very, very busy, which is great. Do lots of schools and hospitals and supply lots to aged care. So so far so good, which is nice.
And we always like to ask our guests about some of their obviously favourite experiences, but maybe 3 or 4 of the toughest players or best players you played against that you just loved playing against them, but hated them for obviously playing so well.
And played with.
Yeah, probably the I always think just an incredible footballer, and I had some really good battles with him, and it was Darren Mullane, and he was a close friend, but we never we shook hands before a battle, and away we went, and I found it very tough to stand him. He was a very tough player, but also it was a great challenge as well. Same with Dipper and Doug Hawkins. Stephen Stretch was a sensational wingman when I used to play against him at Melbourne and West Torrens.
Quick stretchy.
Grantley Filkey, of course. So, it's just, there was so much. Mark Bays, Murphy from the Sydney Swans. There was a lot of great wingmen around in my era. So you got the Catwood brothers as well. And,
Main Waring and Matera at West Coast. Yeah.
So, Craig Turley as well. He used to sneak on the wing. So. There was Nathan Burke, of course, was a wingman. So it seemed to be a real battle every Saturday or game because there was so much talent on both wings that you're running out in the ground to. Now, some of the players I really enjoyed playing with. Obviously Craig Bradley was just incredible player. Just Tim Watson was incredible. Terry Danaher was fantastic. Martin Leslie, I've spoken, said about Martin. So I've been really lucky there. I mean, I've, so many great players and great personalities, and now great friends.
And one thing we've still got to mention for the end, because we would have been shot if we hadn't, the mullet. You're famous for your mullet, Ando. It virtually hasn't changed. So. The rest of us are quite jealous that you've still got your bloody hair as much as that too, Ando, you prick. Yeah.
It's just hanging in there. But it is incredible. I know Helen got some photos out. I don't even know where she got them from actually, and I think it was a photo of me in grade 4 or 5, and my hair was exactly the same as it is now. And I was going, oh, this is sad, But anyway, it's. I think my mum. I think she wanted another daughter because I know I used to wear it in a ponytail in grade 1 and 2 at school. So I've always had it. I've always had it long, except for my 30th birthday when silly Andrew Jarman and Dave Pittman and Peter Caven and Rod Jamison and my two brothers, gave me cut my hair off. So that was sort of the only time I ever had it short.
You did mention, or Malcolm did mention about family and all the shenanigans that go on. A couple of Port players that always used to be practical jokers, and then maybe the Essendon and the Crows players. Is there people you needed to steer clear of from that point of view?
Yeah, I think with Port, no question, Bomber Clifford. I think some of his antics, actually, being a young lad, sort of scared me a little bit because I was just really worried that if he picks on me, I don't know if I can handle it. So he was a really strong character, just so funny and wanted to make people laugh. And lucky enough, he didn't pick on me too many times. George Fiacci, of course, Timmy Geneva, really, really great personalities of the club, and then Alan Nizard from Essendon was great, and Billy Duckworth was a character. Paul Salmon was he was always looking for a laugh as well. So. And then the Crows, you got Rod Jamison, Kimmy Costa. He probably got picked on more than he gave out, but anyway, that's Kimmy. Peter Caven, a great character. Andrew Jarman, of course. What a wonderful human being that guy is, and just a wonderful friend. And he was a great guy. And probably the one I think was a bit heroic for me was Paul Salmon. I got asked to do, is it the start of the century?
Okay.
And what had happened, I was when they come to the you can do shopping. Remember you could do shopping.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So it was weights equipment. So you give up 5 or 10 points to get the weights equipment, all that sort of stuff. Anyway, they asked me to do it. So I went out and, the start of the century, and Tony Barber said, right, here's the gift shop. And there I was, doing the lat pull down on this weights machine. And he asked me a few questions about the finals and stuff like that. And that was all good. And I got a couple $100 for it. Beautiful. But then, after it aired, the team was brutal on me.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That was brutal. I really just wanted to find a corner and say, oh my God, these guys are ruthless. And Paul Salmon, I always remember him saying, "Oh, geez, it's going to be terrible when the guys find out I've been on Neighbours." Me, and they hit Paul. They were just going for him, and I always remember, and that's why he's been my best man. But I thought, mate, thank you so much. You knew I was drowning, and he reflected it beautifully. And but he never did go on neighbours. He just threw that out just to take the pressure off me. So
that's gold.
Yeah, footy clubs, sometimes
Yes, they can be ruthless. Doesn't matter what level.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, so everything's relevant, as I said.
Yes. Hey, Ando, greatly appreciate your time. Fantastic to have you on the show, and look forward to catching up with you at a Hanson family show where both of us will be pissing ourselves laughing.
Beautiful,
thanks, Ando.
mate. Thank you, buddy. Really enjoyed it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, mate. And we've enjoyed, obviously, that story, and that last story you gave us, I think might be our little promo for next week, I reckon. So thanks for that, mate.
That's good.
Thank you.
No worries. All right. Thank you.
See ya.